Chase is getting good at this.
All right. Chase will offer the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will ask the Planning Commission at this time if there's any conflicts of interest with any items on the agenda. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the administrative items. We do have one item on for a public hearing. That is a legislative item, and I will read at that time the public hearing notice or how that works. But we will start off with just administrative items at this point. And so item 3.1, which is a request for conditional use approval for a light manufacturing in a M1 manufacturing zone for business known as Beyond Welding. And if the staff could help me out to understand which individuals may be tied to these that might be online. I don't want to miss anyone if they're actually online, so they can have an opportunity to speak. But we'll turn to city staff for this to start with. Michael?
Okay, our first item is a conditional use request for a manufacturing business in an existing commercial development that has been constructed on Porter's Point Cove by Scenic Development. This is a property that the commission recently reviewed another request for a conditional use adjacent to this, this particular tenant or proposed tenant. So here's our vicinity map. You can see it's in the southern end of the city there. And then a little bit closer. I have to move forward. There we go. So this is the 4 units in this one particular building. The dance studio that you reviewed last time was that unit 4 just to the north. You can see it has parking and access around all 4 sides of the building. Like our computer wants to be a little slow tonight. I'm going to advance it, Destiny. There we go. Just looking at some of the other users that are currently in the project area. And we know we have a wide variety of users. We have the Flip It Gymnastics. We have DBAT that's been very successful in this project. So we do have a mixture already of some manufacturing, light manufacturing, and some kind of indoor recreation type users in this project. Again, looking a little closer at this site, we reviewed the parking and found that it is compliant. The parking on the west side of the building is largely unused. At least that's been our observation during working hours. We visited this site a few different times over the last month. And then the applicant has included a floor plan in case you want to discuss that and where some of this equipment would be placed within the building. Sheldon Howe, our planner who went and visited the existing facility in Orem, wanted to see how their operation functioned, how much noise and dust was actually being generated by this fabrication process. And again, they're largely producing stair rails and stair amenities or features. And then installing them on site. So they're constructing them in the building and then installing them on site. All of these images were attached to the staff report in your packet. Now, one of the issues in the staff report is the applicant described the use as light manufacturing. We identified for reference what the definition of those two terms are. It was Sheldon's recommendation that perhaps it should be classified as manufacturing, not light manufacturing. Both are conditional uses in the M zone. But if the Planning Commission accepts the proposal as light manufacturing, these are the recommended conditions of approval in your packet.
All right, thank you. I see the applicant is online, so would you like to maybe share additional information on the project?
Yeah, there was, I don't know which gentleman asked the question during the work meeting. He asked if the neighboring tenant, Lifehouse had been notified, and Nisha Woodhouse, who's the owner of Lifehouse Dance, I talked with her and I've gone through everything that we're proposing here, and she doesn't see any issues with it. In the attachment that's shown here, we tried to strategically place things closer to the demising wall between their space and Unit C that we thought would be more amenable on that side. Is there any questions from the Planning Commission on any other questions?
The only question I had is, I think I saw there's a vent coming out of the top of the building. Could you just maybe talk about actually what's coming out of that vent? Is it just heat? Is it, I'm just curious exactly how that's being used, I guess.
Yeah, so Ephraim Garcia, he's online as well. Ephraim, could you speak a little bit more in depth about that question there?
Yeah, the stuff, it gets painted with the powder coating. It hits 400 degrees, so it's really just venting the heat.
Okay.
So the oven keeps whatever temperature is set up and doesn't go up over that temperature. So it needs to come out of somewhere.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't fumes from something else coming out.
No,
Okay.
not at all.
All right. Any other questions from the Planning Commission for the applicant while they're on? Jackson?
I got a quick one. What is the rating on the demising wall, or what's it built of?
So it's a 2x6 steel stud demising wall, fully insulated. We've got 2 layers of 5/8 Type X drywall, which Type X is a fire rated drywall. It's just
Okay.
better than just normal 5/8. But we have that between each unit, so it's fully insulated. All the exterior walls on the building are fully insulated, and we've got fire caulking along the tops of all the demising walls. So they're pretty. I mean, apart from adding another demising wall, it's as much as you can do on the separation there.
That sounds like a 2-hour rated wall, so.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
All right. Any additional questions from the Planning Commission? All right. I'll thank the applicant for the additional information. And then at this point, I'll turn to the Planning Commission for additional discussion.
I don't have any if the other tenants are okay with the usage.
Yeah. If there's no additional discussion, then I'll look to the Planning Commission for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the request for conditional use with the 6 recommendations as noted.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jackson. A second by Brody. And we'll call for a vote. Brody?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes. Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Andrea?
Yes.
And Jackson?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you, guys. We appreciate you being here.
Yes, thank you for the time.
You're welcome. We'll move on to item 3.2, which is a request for exchange of title to adjust the lot line between lot 3 and 4 of the Northview Meadows subdivision, and then also west boundary lot adjustment. And we'll turn to the city staff for additional details.
And this is a type of request that the commission fairly often reviews in this meeting. Once again, whenever we have a request for lot line adjustment where we have agreement between property owners, this is fairly routine. And we have received approvals from both Charles Riddle and Robert Burns on this proposal before you tonight.
All right. Any additional
Next.
information or?
Did you want me to go through these other slides? It's just
Okay,
not
there's
advancing
Another
destiny.
slide.
There we go.
Okay.
This is the project area. Now, one thing that is a little bit different here is that they are asking for additional property from an unplatted parcel to the west. But again, this is something that is contemplated by city code and is allowed with city review and approval. So here's the recorded plat as it is now. And then they're asking for this permission to include this additional unplatted property on the project. Again, the staff is recommending approval. The submittal has complied with city standards, and there's our recommendation.
All right. Is the applicant here, and do they have additional information to share? It looks like it's a Chuck Riddle. All right. Do you mind just stating your name so it'll be recorded at the mic? At the mic, yeah, so they can hear you.
Yeah, my name's Chuck Riddle. I'm the applicant. The only really information is we're just looking at moving and enlarging Lot 3 and 4 in the Northview Meadows area. I approached our neighbor, and he's more than willing to sell off 56 feet of that land and make this adjustment.
All right. Any questions for the applicant from the Planning Commission?
Just curious, what's the need to enlarge it?
There's a detached garage that we've submitted for plans for that we wanted to try to extend it a little bit out away from the house to make it fit a little better on the property. It gives us just a little more room to move. And then it makes Lot 3 a little more appealing. With the house that I'm putting up on there, I'd like to try to keep the other homes on that circle kind of up to that value level to try to maintain the integrity on that street.
All right, thank you.
All right. No other questions. If you don't mind just taking one of the Lysol wipes and wiping it down and then sitting down, I'll let you sit down at this point. And then I'll turn to the Planning Commission for additional discussion or motion at this point.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item 3.1 as.
3.2.
Sorry, 3.2 with staff's single recommendation.
All right, motion made by Adam.
I'll second.
A second by Lauren. We'll call for a vote. Jackson?
Yes.
Andrea?
Did you say Andrea?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Andy?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
And Brody?
Yes.
All right, that passes. Item 3.2 or is approved. And then we'll move on to item 3.3, which is a request for conditional use approval for Juniper Canyon Trails and Open Space Phase 1. And the applicant is Harriman City. So is that going to be you, Michael, that shares, or?
I don't know, we prepared a PowerPoint. I'm not sure if the applicant has prepared one as well for presentation tonight.
All right.
Okay.
I'll leave it up to you if you want to do it or if you want them to start.
I can just quickly orient you and any members of the public who are watching tonight. This project spans multiple parcels that the city has been acquiring through dedication as part of adjacent development. This is something that our staff has been working on very hard as far as a public amenity for the city. As mentioned in the staff report, this is essentially phase 1 of development. There's a list of amenities we'll be looking at shortly, but there's an intent to come back with additional amenities within the same geographic area, but essentially we're treating this as phase 1, and then any other future amenities would be treated as phase 2 and phase 3. You're in your packet, it was such a large packet, and I won't go through all of these bullet points, but this is a summary of those amenities. We do have some parking lots. One of the things we asked the developer to do is to, or excuse me, we asked our consultant to do is to make sure they submit a traffic impact and parking study, which we included in your report. We wanted to make sure that the parking quantities were sufficient for the programming. We also, you may recall, we did not, we tabled a request to locate a pump track somewhere else, and that is showing up in this project. We've had a number of open houses. You can see we both did virtual and in person. We've also had some follow-up conversations with concerned neighbors about what is being programmed and what is the potential impact on their properties. So our staff, engineering, and our consultant, and our primarily Heidi, our landscape architect, has been really leading this project. So again, just,
Real quick,
oh yes,
did
please.
you guys meet with the schools that are all surrounded there by chance? The school boards and stuff?
Oh, I don't know if Heidi wants, maybe she can address that after we get through this presentation, if that's okay, Commissioner Jacobson. So we'll just go through these. Again, this is just more for your reference tonight. If you want to talk about different elements of the project, we have all of these images for you that we can just bring back up. There are 2 parking fields. The one that is being proposed is the lower trailhead. You can see in this image we have a proposed parking, but that will be a future phase. That's not in this phase 1. We also have been working hard to secure rights to have underpasses. Quite amazing. You know, this is not something that is super typical. This is showing the leadership and the forethought that Harriman has had for the last 20 years in trying to secure these underpasses, which will be a wonderful amenity in the future, especially once Mountain View is improved even further. It makes it harder to cross. This is that lower trailhead that is part of the phase 1 plan right now. A little closer design, and this is also where you can see that pump track being located next to that parking lot. This is at least submitted to the city for review, planning department, that is. I think this is the 2nd revision of this project. And because of that revision, a number of amenities. I asked the landscape architect if these were merely placeholders and subject to further change. I was told, and maybe they can correct this for the record, I was told that this is what they are hoping to go out to bid for. There's always a pressure to consider a substitution, alternates and materials, but this is a thought-out package as far as what we are trying to achieve as a city for all these amenities that were included in your package. And then, as I said, because we've done a lot of work on this, we did a DRC, we've had a revision on this plan. Only 2 comments that came from our engineering department was we want to make sure the ADA parking is compliant. We felt like we needed to do a little more work to be compliant with city standards. And then we've recently been maturing our conversation and our requirements for low impact development. And we would like to see this project meet those future standards. So that was an additional recommendation from the engineering department for your consideration tonight.
All right. Thank you, Michael. So do we have another, I guess, because the applicant's technically the city, but do we have the applicant that's sharing?
I think he said he's going to come speak.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like the applicant spoke twice with you and them.
Hi. I'm going to introduce Matt.
Awesome.
And Joseph, and they are consultants. They work for G. Brown, and they've just done a fantastic job. And so they're here to answer any questions you might have. They might have a few more comments to make in addition to what Mike presented.
Thank you.
We sanitize.
Yeah, really, I think, like has been commented, we've been working with the city for really maybe a year and a half plus. Started preliminary with some concept design, the public open houses, public meetings, and are now finally working through to get towards phase one. I think an important thing to remember, and certainly not lost on you, is that budgets are always tight. So our recommendations and our hope are that we can get many of these amenities, but some of those will be dependent upon funding, and that's why, you know, there may be a phase, well, there will be a phase 2 or a phase 3 or 4, and we'll work with the city really to make sure that we're dialing that in as cost effectively as possible, still meeting standards, things like that. We have already had discussions related to LIDs, so the conditions that were noted are things that we've already been having ongoing discussions and fully have expected to address as we get to final construction documents within the package. Really overall, the amenities, you kind of saw the summary, but the canyon already has a lot of use, trail use, and so part of this is really maybe more formalizing this use to circuit trails with some amenities and improvements for circuit trail runners, also to mountain bike trails, multi-purpose trails, some what we're calling play nodes, some areas where people can stop with their family and their kids. And then, of course, because we have that, then there is the need for parking because it will draw people, and we don't want people just congregating within the neighborhood. So it'll draw people from around. It will really serve the neighbors. And then in that future phases, what we kind of refer to as the upper trailhead will be a larger parcel with some more park amenities. And that's just down the road simply because of budgets. So any specific questions? More than happy to.
I think Adam had a question earlier. Would you like to ask that again, Adam?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure what we're doing to coordinate with the schools. I know just because my son runs cross country through that school, I know when they were in the middle school, they train in that area. The high school trains in that area. They actually use that trail all the time. So I think just coordinating with the school district, if that hasn't happened, making sure they're aware of what's going on, at least the principals and the activities, because I know even during school, they run those trails.
Yeah. So Heidi, I don't, okay, so just to make sure that everybody can hear, Heidi has mentioned that they have sent a letter, have not heard back, but will continue to reach out. So I know there's been some discussions related to another parcel adjacent to it, but the specific uses or needs based off of what the school's there, we can engage and reach out and have just additional input from them to make sure. Like mentioned before, there's been a number of other neighbors and stuff that have commented at public open house, emails, as well as some other outreach meetings. School has not specifically been one of those that we've communicated with or had an opportunity to talk to yet. So
I just think they'll be an important shareholder since they're obviously right next to you.
I think knowing cross-country runners, if there's how much trail, how much mileage have you got on the trail system?
So, excuse me. So just as we talk about the trails, the multi-use asphalt trail, 2.1 miles of proposed, but there's also 1.36. Is that 1.36 or 0.36? Got to read handwriting there.
Yeah, Lauren, I agree with you. They actually they do races there with their region behind in that part.
I was gonna say, it could be a good host.
Okay, so that's the asphalt trail, and then the kind of the circuit training, which would be more running, kind of the cross-country side of things. We got 1.9 miles of the circuit training and about 2 miles of the mountain bike.
Awesome. I think that could be a great.
And part of that's really, a lot of the trails, they're kind of there, but they've developed a little bit over time just through repetitive use. So that's a little bit formalizing some of these trails and doing so that we can kind of minimize conflicts, runners, bikers, aren't always great to be using those same trails, as well as families that spread out. So having multiple trails within the canyon that are addressing each of those will help kind of address the safety, especially as use just increases over time. And then also trying to make sure that it's really clear where those uses should happen, so we have less kind of degradation of the natural environment, that we're really getting people using the trails where they need to, instead of kind of being off trail throughout the canyon.
All right.
How do you calculate parking need?
So as we did the traffic study, so Hales Engineering, who the traffic transportation planners did our traffic study for us, and they went using, first of all, they did traffic counts. They went and looked at some other similar sites, and then using other guidelines within just traffic planning, used that and tabulated kind of the need based off of specific use. So in the traffic study, they outlined that the peak demand for the first phase requires approximately 60 vehicles on a normal day. And that's a demand of 17 vehicles that would be expected for normal day use for the trails. To be conservative, as it was assumed that the peak normal park use demand of 43 vehicles would be needed for the lower pump track, small trail amenities, though the demand will likely be less than this. So the proposed 80 stalls kind of took that peak demand, increased it just slightly, knowing that over time, the use will only grow. As they looked at their traffic study, from a traffic and parking, they looked at what our current kind of 2020 level was, and then they also project, it's common within the traffic studies to project to the 2030, start to look at traffic needs and things there with the improvements of the other recreational amenities. And then as the future phases come on board with upper trailhead, then additional parking would be added.
As needed.
At that time.
Would the upper kind of be as needed as, because I picture this being very popular. I mean, I look at what we get at the reservoir. I mean, we overflow that every day in the summer.
So,
I think this is going to be
the
similar
reservoir up
demand.
there was one of the specific sites that have been looked at and observed. So making sure that we're looking at another recreational amenity. It's hard to find exact apples to apples as we look at those for traffic counts and comparisons. But so they looked at one right here within Harriman at the reservoir, and then have also looked just outside of the area at another, can't really do like a regional park, but are kind of taking that all into consideration to look at the different types of uses and what the demands are for parking and traffic.
Yeah, I had a question on that too, because page 229 of our packet shows Juniper Crest Road and the Rosecrest Road intersection. Future 2030 shows for BGF and then BG MIT, D, and PPD. Just curious what could be done to help, I guess, minimize impact. Do you know?
So on the specific traffic studies and traffic recommendations, so they have outlined within that report for the 2020, sometimes it may be some additional signalization. A lot of the times it's simply looking at kind of turn pockets to make sure that you don't get a left or a right turn that's really backing up. So in that traffic study, those have all been outlined. I can't, I guess right now, just off the top of my head, point you to the very specific recommendation there for that one. It's also important to note in the traffic impacts that as we kind of see an impact, you know, a B or a D or an F, those aren't kind of, they don't align necessarily with what we'd think with our letter grades, like my high school kids in their classes, right? It's more within this traffic specific terminology.
Yeah, just usage. Yeah.
Yep, usage. And so they're not as alarming maybe as when I see an F that it sounds like, but it is identifying what's acceptable and then what needs to be done there. So for example, some of the future, it would be increasing turn pockets or lengths of those queuing type areas. Many of those areas you already have existing right of way, so they can be done fairly easy. Some of it's also addressing signalization and also making recommendations for crosswalks with pedestrians. And that's the whole idea of the traffic impact study, is really so that we're looking at that and we're being preemptive in that and having a full understanding of what we think based off of the current knowledge that we have. And Hales has worked closely with your city engineers to make sure they have a full understanding of what's coming on board so that it's taking into consideration the whole picture.
So the only question I have with that is, I know this is phase one, or that's how we're looking at it. Is there the potential, or have you looked at it to where if in a phase two or a phase three or a phase four, we need additional parking, is there a location or is there a way to add that? Because I'm perfectly okay with looking at it with phase one with all our traffic studies and everything else, but do we have a plan if we move into phase 2, 3, or 4 and we need more parking, that there is a way to do that?
Yeah, so the need for additional parking with phase two, a large majority of that comes actually with the items that are proposed, or the initial programming elements that are proposed at the upper trailhead. So as the programming and as as phase two comes and it's coming with that upper trailhead and those programming elements that are there, some playgrounds, whatever they may be, and we have some preliminary ideas of what those may be. Most of the parking that's needed and required is related to those programming elements. So what has initially been proposed fits within that, and then if there is large events, or they've also looked at some potential overflow, and whether that's some sharing agreements with the Salt Lake Community College or some other things, and making sure that the lower trailhead and the upper trailhead are working in tandem with some wayfinding and some signage in place, so that if trail users come and there's one area, then they are directed to where the alternate parking opportunities are. But just to give you an idea, some of the future, the future trailhead, a couple of the proposed programming elements there include a small amphitheater as well as the event center. The large majority of the parking need is necessitated by those couple of elements. And so the traffic study does come with some specific recommendations relative to sizing for both of those, as well as some operational things that would need to happen if they were to be beyond the sizes that they're currently planned. So, as we get into that, really additional approvals would need to take place at that second phase, and as the detailed design took place, all of that, looking at parking as well as where your exact programming elements landed. Right now, we think, it's amazing how quickly maybe the needs can change, right? So what we think is to be included there, really, we will have to make that site work for the parking that can be accommodated, or the agreements that can happen for any overflow.
So there is potential in phase 2, 3, or 4 adding parking in different areas as well?
Yeah, so there's obviously not a lot of extra place for parking directly related to Juniper Canyon. Additional parking, it would be either expanding the parking within that phase 2 and maybe reducing some other programming elements, or it would be looking to overflow with agreements with like Salt Lake Community College.
Yeah, okay. That answers my question. Any other additional questions from the Planning Commission?
I still think, just talking to that school, because I think overflow, at least at that high school, is where I've seen a lot of overflow already. So I think just talking about that and making sure they're aware of that, naturally you will get people parking there.
So I think that's just emphasis from Adam that we need to get a hold of the school district and talk to them in further detail on this. Anything else?
Isn't that Providence?
Yeah.
Not the school district.
Charter.
Yeah, I could see a lot of people parking there just to walk down. Easy access from that side.
I've parked there frequently when I go hike around there. So
I think it looks great.
I think it looks amazing. I think you guys did a great job maximizing the opportunities within the area.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we appreciate all the hard work. Any other questions for them before I let them sit down? All right. If you don't mind just wiping it down, I appreciate it. Additional discussion with the Planning Commission.
I was just going to say, I think what you brought up is important, and I'm kind of glad it's phasing, because then we can address overusage with additional parking as they continue to build it out.
All right.
Kind of connect, Michael, you might know this too, and Heidi, you might know too. Is there any trail connectivity to this development, to this park from other? So we talk about walkability and ease of getting there. If we could, I don't know if that helps with parking, if people can get there without having to drive there. I mean, that would be, is there trails, Wendy, to this park from other neighborhoods? Yeah, I think that's a big deal then.
Jackson probably can say it because he lives around there.
They can say I walk over to it all the time.
Yeah, Wendy's right now commenting. I just don't think they can hear you.
Oh, yeah, we can't hear.
But she's grabbing a mic.
Okay, how's that? Good.
Much better.
Yeah, there is connectivity, and the thing that I think is really important about this project is it connects everything that's happening on the east side of Mountain View to our hillside and all the trails that we're doing on that side. This will also have connectivity to future plans in Rosecrest. So as that comes to you, we're being very cognizant about how all of this relates to each other and how everything connects. There'll be other trailheads in Rosecrest. Like they mentioned, there's parking opportunities with the community college, with RSL, and with the Wasatch commercial property that's to the south of the lower trailhead. So we are really working to make sure that it all works together. This area will also connect to the Willoughby Jacobs Canal Trail that we're working on via the Salt Lake Community College. So we're really working on all those connectivity.
That's great.
points.
Amazing work, Wendy. Thank you. Heidi,
Yeah.
that's all. It's just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it's going to be really
It's going to be a destination.
amazing.
This will be a destination for,
If I had my way, the whole city would be connected by trail. So
we've only been on the
I'm
commission. for a
working
year.
on it.
We can't go back and fix past commission's mistakes.
It takes a few years to do that, but we're working on it.
I like it. I like it. Let me know how I can help. All right. Then if there's no other additional comments or discussion, I'll look for a motion from the Planning Commission.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for conditional use for Juniper Canyon Trails and Open Space Phase 1.
I'll second.
Oh, I'll give it to Brody this time, Jackson. So Lauren made the motion.
The one that lives-
And Brody had a second. I'll call for a vote. Brody?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Andrea? I couldn't hear you. Will you try one more time?
Sorry. Yes.
I saw your mouth move, but I couldn't hear you. And Jackson?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for your hard work.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the legislative items, and it is on for a public hearing, so I just wanted to read the public comment and policy procedure. The purpose of public comments is to allow citizens to address items on the agenda. Citizens requesting to address the commission will be asked to complete a written comment form and present it to Wendy, Deputy Recorder. In general, the chair will allow an individual 3 minutes to address the commission. A spokesperson recognized as representing group in attendance may be allowed up to 5 minutes. This policy applies to all public hearings. And then just to confirm, Wendy, we didn't get any comments? Okay. Then we'll start off. So 4.1, which is amended water master plan presentation. And then we'll start with city staff. And then it sounds like Justin Edwards will also have something to present. All right, we'll go straight to you. There we go.
Justin, I don't think we're going to like this as much as we liked the last one. Just don't be offended. So,
Well, there's not much of a presentation. I didn't prepare one because there's not a whole lot to talk about. We are amending the master plan, but this master plan was just adopted by council in August of last year. And as you may have seen in the staff report and information, the amendment is really just to add one line, a sentence. And as we were going through the impact fee facility plan, which is done after the master plan, to determine the needed infrastructure and put cost to that, we realized that we wanted to make a minor change to the master plan to make sure that it was consistent with the impact fee facility plan. And even though it does require coming back to amend that minor thing, we felt it was worth doing. and therefore have done that. So initially, what it does is it basically just adds a little more clarity to the amount of groundwater that we can safely pull out of the aquifer, which determines how much more groundwater that we think we'll need in the future. And so essentially the sentence that was added was the maximum capacity the city anticipates could be developed out of the aquifer is approximately 2,000 acre-feet annually with a peak capacity of 2 million gallons a day. So that was essentially the only thing that was changed in the master plan to make it more consistent with the impact fee facility plan. So that's it.
All right, thank you, Justin. Any questions for him?
I couldn't even ask him if I wanted to.
Nope, I don't think we have any. All right, at this time, we will open the public hearing. We did not receive any online comments, and so it's those that are present here. If there's any comments they would like to make. All right, I'm guessing there's no public comments here, and so we will close the public hearing and look to the Planning Commission for discussion or a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion if we're ready. I don't have any.
All right.
Make a motion to recommend approval of item 4.1, amended master plan to city council, correct?
Correct.
I'll second it.
Motion by Lauren, a second by Adam, and we'll call for a vote. Brody?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Andrea?
Yes.
And Jackson?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much, guys. Are there any additional chair or commission comments at this time? All right, seeing none, future meetings, Wednesday, February 10th, will.
Oh, I apologize. I wanted to introduce our new planning staff member.
All
I don't know
right,
if you have been aware, but Monday, we just started Clint Spencer. We recruited him from Ogden City. He lives in Eagle Mountain. So we saved him from that commute, that incredible commute. And he is proving to be a fast learner. And we're excited to have him here. And we're looking forward to having him work with you very closely in the near future.
great.
Welcome, Clint.
Welcome to the
Welcome.
team.
Welcome.
I just thought you were here to make a comment on the one public item. I mean, I was a little excited. I was like, I don't think I've ever heard a comment with the water master plan. So that'd be a first. So I was
Quite
intrigued to hear what you would say. So, yeah. So future meetings, Wednesday, February 10th, City Council, Thursday, February 18th, Planning Commission, and Wednesday, February 24th, City Council meeting. I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
I saw mouths move. I think some of them were on mute, but I'll accept that. And so, and at this time, the work meeting is adjourned.